Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to reverse engineer what honestly looks like a 2,500-year-old alien technology hiding in plain sight. For centuries, we've read these ancient texts as just, simple poetry or basic historical guidelines. But what if we've been looking at them through completely the wrong lens? Today, we're stripping away all those mystical interpretations. We're going to examine the ancient Chinese text, the Tao Te Ching, specifically Chapter 8, entirely through the lens of modern astrophysics and thermodynamics.
We usually think of ancient philosophy as these dusty moral lessons, right? Things like be a good person, be humble, play nice with others. But today, we're going to look at it as a hyper-efficient energy optimization algorithm. Think about the universe for a second. It doesn't care about human morality. It cares about energy. It cares about stability. It cares about survival. So what if Lao Tzu wasn't writing some self-help guide, but actually an instruction manual on how to perfectly sync up with the physical laws of the cosmos?
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the massive paradigm shift we are making today. We are totally upgrading from morality to pure hard astrophysics. On one hand, you have the traditional view. Be humble, go with the flow, don't make a fuss. It honestly sounds a little passive, maybe even weak. But when we apply what we're calling the cosmic decode, this exact same behavior transforms into a calculated, mathematically flawless strategy for maximizing energy efficiency and avoiding systemic collapse. It's literally the ultimate survival protocol.
Now, checking out the actual ancient text of Chapter 8, it famously declares right from the jump that the highest good is like water. For over 2 millennia, scholars have debated these exact characters. But here's the trick. If we just replace the word good with optimal state of physical efficiency, the entire text unlocks, like a vault. We're going to break this down step by step to prove exactly how water acts as the universe's perfect fluid operating system.
All right, let's get into Section 1, the principle of least action, or the physics of non-contention.
So Lao Tzu is constantly talking about not fighting. But what does that actually mean in physics? Well, in modern physics, there's a foundational law called the principle of least action. It dictates that light, particles, entire systems, they all automatically calculate and choose the most efficient, resistance-free trajectory. Nature's kind of lazy, but in the absolute smartest way possible. It hates wasting energy. It actively prevents energy loss and thermal friction by always taking the path of least resistance.
Which brings us to a really crucial point. Think about water flowing down a mountain. When it hits a giant rock, it doesn't crash into it head-on to prove a point or assert dominance. It just adapts to the shape of the obstacle and flows right around it. This isn't water trying to be polite or practicing moral restraint. It is flawlessly executing the principle of least action. By avoiding direct collisions, water generates zero friction, meaning it prevents any loss of kinetic energy. So, not competing isn't a moral stance, it's simply the ultimate physical optimization strategy.
Moving to Section 2, Ground State, the ultimate cosmic attractor. In our society, we're always told to climb the ladder, right? Hustle, get to the top. But physics has a very different opinion on high places. If you push a boulder to the top of a hill, sure, it gains high potential energy. But physicists call that an excited state. It's incredibly unstable, it's exhausting to maintain, and it's constantly prone to a catastrophic collapse, basically rolling right back down. True stability in a quantum mechanical system is actually found at the bottom, in what physicists call the ground state. It's the lowest possible energy state, and because of that, it is the most stable and secure position in the entire universe.
Lao Tzu observed that water always settles in the lowly places that humans absolutely hate. We want to be at the peak, but water immediately rushes to the valley. And by obeying gravity and voluntarily dropping to that lowest potential energy point, water does something basically magical. Because it's at the absolute bottom, it becomes the ultimate cosmic attractor. Think about it. All the rivers, all the rain, all the nutrients, they inevitably flow down to meet it. It effortlessly draws all surrounding resources toward it simply by holding that lowest position.
When you look at it side by side like this, it perfectly captures why Lao Tzu's advice to stay low is actually a mathematically optimal strategy to avoid destructive entropy. Our human ego desperately wants that excited state, which takes massive energy to sustain and almost always ends in a crash. Water, on the other hand, chooses the ground state, just sitting peacefully in the valley. It expends literally zero energy to stay there, yet it commands the flow of everything above it. I mean, it is a masterclass in positional leverage.
Let's jump into Section 3, critical point and frictionless energy release.
Now, you might be wondering, how does this ancient fluid system actually generate power?
Because being like water doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting with unstoppable force, but only at the exact mathematically correct moment. Picture water gathering silently behind a massive dam. To the naked eye, it looks completely still, passive even, but underneath it is building massive potential energy. It just waits until the volume reaches a very specific mathematical threshold. And when it hits that threshold, the critical point, the laws of physics step in and dictate an inevitable, spontaneous release.
Looking at Laozi's exact words here, water never forces its way forward prematurely. It doesn't struggle or strain against the dam when it's only half full. It simply gathers, waits, and lets that potential energy build. And when it finally reaches that critical point, it overflows naturally. It is a completely frictionless release of power. The action becomes inevitable, requiring literally zero forced effort. That's the physics of perfect timing.
All right, Section 4, the quantum vacuum, returning to the signal.
We are about to take these fluid dynamics straight into the quantum realm. If water is the behavior, what's the source? Where does all this endless energy come from? Well, this perfectly illustrates how Laozi's metaphors about empty space map directly onto the three layers of modern physics: the universe, the atom, and the quantum vacuum. In Chapter 11, Laozi says, a room is only useful because of the empty space inside it. A clay bowl works because of the void in the middle. The hub of a wheel drives the whole cart because of the empty hole for the axle. And modern physics tells us the exact same thing. 99.999% of an atom is empty space. What we perceive as nothing is actually a dynamic field of infinite potential energy.
Think about our daily lives. We are completely obsessed with the high-entropy noise of our five senses. We're always chasing visual and audio stimulation, which in physics terms is just scattered energy, the leftover result of symmetry breaking and cooling after the Big Bang. It's chaotic, and frankly, it's exhausting. But Laozi warns us that to actually survive, we have to tune into the signal. The signal is the unified field. It's the quantum vacuum. We can't perceive it with our physical eyes or ears, but it is the ultimate source of negentropy, the force that brings order out of chaos.
I love thinking about it with this Lego analogy from our sources. If entropy is like your little brother smashing your awesome Lego castle into a million pieces all over the floor, negentropy is the mysterious mother force, what Laozi calls the profound female or the valley spirit. It effortlessly gathers all those scattered, chaotic pieces and systematically builds them back into a complex, living structure. By blocking out the phenomenal noise of our five senses and syncing up with that quiet quantum vacuum, we actually access this negentropic power to literally build life out of total chaos.
And that brings us to our conclusion, the ultimate cosmic survival strategy.
So, we've basically translated ancient poetry into hard physics today, and now it's time to put it all together into a real, actionable operating system. The biggest takeaway from this explainer is that acting like water isn't just about being good, it is the scientifically flawless way to glide through reality without breaking. You drop that rigid, fragile ego and become fluid. You eliminate friction by taking the path of least action. You find absolute stability in the ground state to naturally attract resources. You wait for that critical point so your actions require zero strain. And you recharge by ignoring the noisy entropy of the world and syncing with the silent, powerful signal of the quantum vacuum.
Laozi ends Chapter 8 with this incredible, profound statement. Because it does not contend, it is beyond reproach. It cannot be defeated. In physical terms, generating zero friction and resting in absolute stability makes you totally immune to systemic collapse. You simply cannot be broken or worn down by external forces because you aren't offering a hard surface for those forces to strike against. You become, functionally, indestructible.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question, hoping you step out today and start coding your own life to match the breathtaking physics of the universe. Are you going to keep burning all your energy as a fragile solid, constantly fighting friction? Or are you ready to upgrade to the universe's ultimate fluid operating system? The cosmos already wrote the perfect survival algorithm. It's been waiting for us for 2,500 years. It's time to stop fighting the friction, drop to the ground state, and just flow. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and I will catch you on the next explainer.